Hello, and thanks for checking in on our latest installment of the Redbird Rundown, our weekly video on the Illinois State men's basketball team. Alongside veteran beat reporter Jim Benson, I am assistant sports editor Joe Deacon as your host. Hi, Jim. How are things going in your world?
Not too bad. Just waiting for the longest month of the year to get over with, Joseph.
Really. It's short in days, but long in time.
That's exactly right.
Well, a bitter cold snap has cut through Central Illinois, but the Redbirds managed to snap out of their cold stretch Wednesday with a 60-47 win over rival Bradley in Peoria. That halted a three-game slide. And Jim, so what did ISU do well against the Braves that they hadn't done during that little skid?
Well, what they did is they started in a zone defense, which they haven't done for a long time. It was effective, and they stayed in it. They had more length on the court, and I think it really helped the zone a lot. They probably went 6'10", 6'8", 6'7", and 6'4" at times. That really gave the zone a lot of length, and it was pretty effective. I think that was really the main difference.
Yeah, and looks like a real good game from Deontay Hawkins with 12 points and 9 rebounds playing in that zone.
Yeah, he's just starting to really kind of get into a flow now. He sat out about 10 games with that foot injury, and he's just slowly but surely kind of developing into the player that they really thought he was going to be this year.
Yeah. The Bradley win came after Saturday's 68-62 home loss to number 13 Wichita State. Now, despite coming up short, ISU did play better against the Shockers than they had in their 3 days earlier against Northern Iowa.
Yeah, and in that game, though, the whole thing was when a big play needed to be made down the stretch, when ISU got it down to 2 or 3, Wichita State made it, and ISU didn't. It's something that ISU kind of still has to learn a little bit. Wichita has so many veteran guys on that team. I mean, you're talking about guys who have been in Final Fours, guys who went 35-0 to start the season last season. That experience that those guys for Wichita have is so invaluable. Illinois State, they're slowly picking it up. People don't like to hear that inexperience, but nobody in ISU has played more than 2 years of Division I basketball. That's just a fact. And if it's a problem, if it's the same thing next year, then it's a problem. Right now, they just got to kind of learn on the fly. There's not much time left in the season to learn, so we'll see what happens.
Yeah, and when the Shockers come at you with guys like Van Vliet and Baker, I mean, they're tough to match.
Tequil Cotton, I mean, those guys are warriors.
Yeah. Well, one thing to note from Wednesday's win over Bradley was that Dan Muller did tighten up his rotation. Guards Bobby Hunter and Tony Wills, both averaging over 22 minutes a game, they didn't see any action. Now, was that a strategic plan just against the Braves, or do you think this shorter rotation is something we might see more of?
I asked Dan about that specifically after the game. He said he consciously went into that game wanting to shorten the rotation because he wanted to see Hawkins and McIntosh on the court together at the same time. They've been sharing the power forward spot for the most part. Mikhail started off at the 3 spot this year, and then things kind of developed, and he's playing more of a 4 than a 3 spot. But Dan wants to see them both together, and that's what I said about the size factor. It gives ISU really a lot of size on the court, and they're both playing well. I mean, so you want to get your best players on the court. Bobby and Tony didn't play, but they're still going to be needed somewhere in the last 2 or 3 weeks here of the season. They are going to be called on. They need to be ready. I'm sure it was kind of a tough thing for them to accept, not playing that game. These guys, like you say, are averaging 22 minutes a game. But, you have to do what's best for the team at this stage, especially when you have a 3-game losing streak. But they need to be ready, and I think, like I said, I think one or both of them will be called upon to really help ISU try to pull out a game here in the next couple of weeks.
Yeah, in the next couple of weeks, there's just 3 games left in the regular season. They've got home contests against Loyola here on Saturday and Southern Illinois on Wednesday. Then they finish up with a trip to Evansville. What are the Redbirds going to need to do over these final 3 games to put themselves in a strong position for the Valley Tournament?
Right. They definitely need to protect their home court. It's been a little bit of a problem against the better teams, Loyola and Southern Illinois. Loyola's had a nice season. Porter Moser's done a really good job there. They've battled a tough injury with their best player. He's been out about the last 8 games. They've kind of hung on, but ISU needs to protect their home court against Loyola and Southern Illinois, and then possibly go to Evansville, and really they'll probably be the underdog in that game. It'll be Evansville's senior night. Well, Evansville doesn't have any seniors, so in theory it'll be a senior night, but it'll be Evansville's final regular season game. ISU, if they could steal that game, that would really give them a lot of momentum heading into St. Louis for the tournament. But definitely they need to protect these 2 home games right here. ISU is basically locked in a 4 or 5 game. Some weird things would have to happen in the last 3 games for them not to be in that 4 or 5 game at the Valley Tournament. But they need to win and just kind of keep building on the momentum.
And looking ahead to the tournament again, going off of what they did on Wednesday, do you think you're going to see more of that extended height in the rotation in the lineup?
Yeah, I really think so. I think it's. It worked the other night. If something works, you're going to carry it forward a little bit and see how it works going further.
Great. Well, that's going to wrap it up for another episode. Don't forget, Jim hosts pregame chats before every game here on Pantagraph.com for about a half hour before tip-off. Then you can follow his in-game updates on Twitter. At Twitter again, Jim?
Capital P is small g _ capital BENSON.
Yeah, easy as it sounds. Then after the games are over, always come back and check out Jim's articles here on Pantagraph.com or in your daily edition of the Pantagraph. Thanks a lot.